Welcome to part 3 of How to Navigate the Great Reset. I've done a lot of mulling over the last few months, but with Biden's speech last week, it's been very clear what I need to make my next one on, and that is education. So going in the spirit of the series, I'm going to get straight to the recommendations, and then I will go into more detail on the details, the why behind it. But if you want to just, if I've earned your trust and you just want to get to the suggestions right away, boom, I'll give you to them up front. Okay, so quick summary. So there is a massive plan to revamp and centralize control of the education system. So assuming you don't trust what the government and is doing with it, and you don't trust the curriculum, here's the recommendations. So we've had, you could break schooling down into 3 different sections. You've got the public, you've got private, and you've got homeschooling. And a little bit more detail on that, you could say public is, pretty much 100% funded by the government. Private, you will usually not have 100% privately funded. Usually they'll have some sort of public subsidy, which also means that there are certain guidelines they need to follow. And so those guidelines are becoming more and more troublesome as time goes on. So private is probably not something you want to go into now. You're just, a lot of private schools, you're likely just throwing your money away due to the restrictions they still have to follow, limitations in how they can model their curriculum. And lastly is the homeschooling, or if we're going to be talking about post-secondary, just self-taught, which is a bit of a misnomer because we're all, in essence, learning off the backs of giants, of those that came before us. So to take, for example, YouTube. As authoritarian as it has gone, is still a great resource for you need to repair your car. There's going to be multiple videos on how to repair your car, whether it's engine work, you just want to change your oil, change your air filter, some weird esoteric part. You're likely going to find it here on YouTube. You're going to find how to, just basically do any little task, and you're going to be able to practice and build up that skill set. Learn how to garden better, learn tips and tricks in your particular area, all kinds of stuff. You don't necessarily need a piece of paper that says you know this. So the general suggestion is, if we're talking post-secondary, only enter the official schooling system, so whether that's public or private, if you specifically know what skill set you need to get to accomplish a certain thing. Say, for example, you know you're going to need to do some electrical work, or you're pretty confident you're going to need to do some electrical work. Okay, you can go to a trade school, and the certification that's saying you can do the electrical work is secondary. Be able to actually know for yourself how to do it and do it safely is what you're actually going there for. The certification is secondary. And that also basically just writes off military altogether. I'll go into it a little bit deeper later in the video. But since a lot of people are going into the military as well, hey, I can just join the armed forces and I get training as part of my It's my term, part of my service. And yeah, we'll go into the reasons why, but that's just another case of, unless you know specifically what you're trying to get out of it, that is not a path you want to take right now. So that's post-secondary and preschool, which I'm going to put air quotes preschool because it's we're going pretty young now, tentatively, is homeschool only. That's it. Like, forget anything else. And you're also gonna, if you're putting two and two together in your head right now, like, okay, well, how am I gonna have the resources for homeschooling? I work or whatever. Well, you can start taking these tips I've had before. So, I've been saying the greatest investment you can make right now is in people and relationships. Well, hopefully you've been building relationships with your family, so that you've got childcare and that way, and you haven't ostracized your extended family, as well as a curriculum. If you have started learning these practical skills, especially with, for example, gardening, this is stuff you can actually actively involve your kids in and actually grow along with them in this skill set. So in terms of having a curriculum and having the resources to actually homeschool your kids, this is all part of the process. You will be equipped if you don't have your blinders on. Okay, so that's the recommendations. Now let's go in deep. So first I gotta thank Steven Crowder for and his research team. He's really been nailing it this past week. Just bringing up all these cases about education, what's going on in that regard. So I'm going to be using quite a few of his clips in today's video. Okay, so first let's take a look at the CNN thing that talks about the Biden's speech. Okay, so there's two things I want to pull out here. Okay, so first let's talk about the post-secondary. So there's the education plan is to extend 2 years for the younger and 2 years older. So on the older side, it's going to be giving funding for 2 years of community college. Now, why would you not want to take up this free offer? Well, can you trust the government right now? Do you want to be taught what they want to teach? So let's I'll let this clip speak for itself.
In recognition, here's a recent clip of the beautiful, brave heroes, the real heroes, professors from Roosevelt University, talking about exactly what it is that they're teaching your kids when they have them completely unfettered and you have no access or the ability to mold young minds. This is what they do.
I'm so glad you're there too. You fit in so well with their, the university's philosophy and mission, right?
What's that?
It's all social justice all day, every day. I get to talk about all the things I love.
Yeah, I always flip out the kids that take my master's class on fiscal policy and public budgets when the first 3 or 4 classes are devoted to philosophy of social justice and how you organize society. We don't talk about one, budgetary item. They're like, oh man, Professor Martiri, this is a really weird way to teach a budget.
Yeah. It's a really weird way to teach a budget by not teaching a budget.
Yeah. So that's why I say you got to know specifically what you're going to this post-secondary education for, if you're not going to go the self-taught route, because they have another narrative and another set of training they want to train you up in, and not necessarily what's on the title, on the synopsis. Okay, so that's more focused on the post-secondary. Let's go back here. Let's take a look at what they want to do with the on the other end of the spectrum. I might have missed it here. Oh yeah, investing $200 billion in universal preschool. Okay, so as young as 3 years old. Yeah, so you got grade 1 already starting with 5-year-olds. They want to bring it down to 3-year-olds. 3-year-old is still a toddler. They still haven't really fully formed the fundamentals of speech. And that's going to be important. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. So what are they... I mean, we already kind of got a taste of it in that last clip. What are some other things that they're... other examples of what's going on in these schools?
With the fact that the school demonizes white kids through critical race theory. Here it is, recorded.
The fact is that I'm agreeing with you that there has been a demonization that we need to get our hands around in the way in which people are doing this understanding.
Okay, so you agree that we're demonizing kids?
We're demonizing we're demonizing white people for being born.
And are some of our students white people?
What?
Are some of our students white people?
Yes.
Okay, so we're demonizing white kids. Why don't you just say it?
We are using language that makes them feel less than, for nothing that they are personally responsible for.
By the way, the fact that that guy didn't...
So, critical or conflict theory is the opposite of what I've been advocating for. I mean, I think most of you know me from VR chat. So it has been opposite of what I've been advocating for since the beginning of what I've been trying to accomplish in VR chat. So I want people to find their God-given gift, talent shows. I want them to develop it, make it better. I want them to share that gift with others. It'll make everyone's life better by having another gift in the pool of gifts. And then I want people to be grateful. So find something that they're grateful in life. Critical theory is the opposite of that. Critical theory is about finding a reason to be miserable, to not be grateful. Is instead of looking for something that you can improve upon and develop, it's you are fine the way you are, and in fact anything that you are should just by the you having whatever identity thing is something to be celebrated but not develop anything. So there's no development of character. It's just here's an attribute, and that's for some reason important, but you're not going to focus on the good things in life. You're going to focus on all the bad things in life. The opposite of being grateful. It's like the opposite of God's commandment. It's thou shalt covet. Thou shalt find things in others that you don't have, and they thus must be have wronged you by them having it and you not. It is a horrible thing to instill in children, or anyone for that matter, but especially children. We'll get into why it's so wrong as we go through this video. But there is another thing I want to share, because it's not just race that they're dealing with. Okay, I want to show you. This is I think the first result that came up when I was looking for just the current curriculum here in Canada. So I want you to note this, the very first one, the first entry here for grade 1. And keep in mind, they want to extend this education down to grade -1, -2, basically to 3-year-olds. Okay? So I want you to take a look at a couple of key terms here. Okay, self-awareness, respecting individual differences, and going beyond gender stereotypes. Now, especially think about this going down to toddlers. How, when you view this through critical theory, teaching kids to be unhappy with who they are at this ripe age, and before there's any concept really have developed of gender stereotypes, already talking about beyond these gender stereotypes. And you can already see this playing out. Hold on, let me just... Okay, because I think there was... Okay, so imagine... Because there's been a few cases of this legally already. But imagine this extending down to age 3. And a teacher swaying a child with this ideology and undermining what they're getting from home. Well, I mean, considering it how young is, there's hardly anything that's been developed from home. So they say they got the hooks in the kid, and they convince the kid of whatever ideology, and the parent doesn't agree. Oh, what do you do? What do you do with this conundrum? Well, we're already seeing it play out. Now, some of you might have already taken a stance on this with adolescents. It's like, well, adolescents should be able to make the choice, their choice of gender or whatever. But what about those who haven't even gone through puberty, don't even understand the differences between gender? Where do you draw the line? 12, 11, 10, 6, 5? Are we comfortable with saying down to 3 years old? So I want you to, with that in mind, go, who actually controls the kids? Who owns the kids? Okay, or who I'll let the clip speak for itself again, and their reaction. I'm gonna leave in the reaction. It's brilliant. Okay, so this is from the horse's mouth. This is from the speech this past week.
This is where it all comes together in this next part, where he explains, again, how he views the United States and its people.
We have to prove democracy still works, that our government still works, and we can deliver for our people. In our first 100 days together, we've acted to restore people's faith in democracy to deliver. We're vaccinating the nation.
Oh, did they? Did they? How about you guys? Did he restore your faith?
We're creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs. We're delivering real results to people. They can see it, feel it in their own lives. Opening doors of opportunity, guaranteeing some more fairness and justice. That's the essence of America. That's democracy in action. Our Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government. You and I. Not some force in a distant capital.
Look at it.
Not some powerful force that we have no control over. It's us. It's we the people.
Told you he's a fascist.
Jesus Christ.
I told you.
We the people is the government.
Yeah. This is why every Republican, every conservative should be calling this his we the government speech. Because that's what he said. We the people is us the government. Could you get a more fascist statement than this?
No.
Okay, now you may be thinking, okay, maybe just the framing's off. That's not what he meant. Okay, so let's head north to my neck of the woods. Bit of a candid moment before, just a number of months before Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister in 2015. See what he thinks about you, what he thinks about parents, what he thinks about kids, and who is responsible for educating children. Is it the parents or is it the government?
Mr. Speaker, the government has a responsibility to educate Canadians.
Okay, so it is the government's responsibility to ensure mental compliance amongst all Canadians. All right, we got to make sure we're educating on the same page. All right.
About matters of public health. But yesterday, the health minister simply pointed fingers at parents for not vaccinating children.
Okay, so according to him, health minister said the responsibility lies on the parents. So if there's a problem distributing a vaccine, we can't override the parents' responsibility over their kids. And keep in mind, this has nothing to do with the current vaccine. We're talking about. This is from 2015. So calm down, YouTube.
Instead of blaming parents, will this Prime Minister cancel his wasteful partisan ads and start a national education campaign on the importance of vaccinating our kids?
Ugh, smug look. Okay, what did he just? Did you hear what he said there?
Vaccinating our kids.
Vaccinating our kids. Our kids. Your kids do not belong to you, according to these elite. They are our kids. They are the government's kids. They belong to this commonly held, basically they belong to the elite. Now, I mentioned last year that there was going to be a big get-together, heads of state and whatnot, and I think intellectual leaders and whatever, of meeting with the Vatican, meeting with the Pope about how to execute on this future education. So you'll find Biden and Trudeau are very much in line, but see if you notice anything similar with what was shared in this clip.
Disagree with some of the theology, but I know there are a lot of great Catholics who do not agree with this current Pope on issues that don't relate to spirituality. Okay, so I want to be clear, this is not an attack on Catholics. However,
There's no hope with Pope.
There's no hope with the Pope. Stupid little red shoes. Here he is saying, the Pope, that we need to abandon individualism and liberty for the collective good. We've had to translate it. This is an actual, he gave this at a vaccine conference.
Dios Creador infunde en nuestros corazones un espíritu nuevo y generoso para abandonar nuestros individualismos y promover el bien común.
Well, and I know that the whole thing with the Pope is he's only infallible on issues of spirituality and speaking ex cathedra, but you know what? We're supposed to be reverential to the Pope,
Yes.
but I'm
Yes! I feel the same way, Stephen. Yes.
Communist Pope.
Get it out of your Sinead.
You've got to do, listen, we're talking about cowards.
I was
Catholics,
raised Catholic.
time for you to speak out against this Pope, okay?
Yeah. Not good. Okay, I will. I'm Catholic.
There you go. Do it.
Yes. Whew. Preach it. Yeah. Now, just to nail the point home. All right, we're going to, if we go into the Liberals' plan, so just before Biden came out with his, the Liberals came out with theirs here in Canada. Their national plan. And so Trudeau back in 2015, he did mention some goals for doing the post-secondary stuff. But yeah, he just recently focused more on the preschool portion. And notice this key line here. Okay. The government's stated goal is to make life more affordable and to drive economic growth by drawing more women into the workforce. So you have this illusion of, okay, we need more women in the workforce. Why? Because equality or whatever. But what is that going to allow the government to do? And then it goes back to this smug speech. Is to take the control away from the parents and to give the kids to the government. The government will be responsible for bringing up your kids. And I've mentioned Jesuits in the past. Both good and bad know this passage, know the Bible, know this passage very well. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, I remember whenever my dad would encounter a tool that was not cooperating, he would just, stupid piece of garbage. And to this day, in fact, I think I did it just like two days ago. It was, I'm not sure if it's a computer or whatnot, and it's just stupid piece of garbage. I can't help it. It is locked into me from when I was a youth. That's how I handle tools that are not cooperative. I would call it a stupid piece of garbage. And this is so true. And this is why this is such a focus, is if they can get their hooks in early, they will. And they will, of course, try to do it by wooing you. We're going to make it so convenient. You're not going to have to worry about the whole finances with taking care of your kids. We'll take care of your kids for you. Oh, thank you. So loving government. All right. So I promised I would tackle the issue of the military in a little bit more detail. I mean, consider everything we just covered. It should be pretty obvious thus far. The military has been infected by this critical theory. It's becoming less and less about having an elite force to tackle external threats. Now it's being destabilized, and it is being used to tackle political threats internally. It has now become a political force. And you're going to be treated like garbage. You have to sleep on a hard garage basement with sharing one bathroom with thousands of troops. I mean, what a sham. That this is how the National Guard is being used. So, yeah, the military has wooed a number of youth of, free training. You'll get some sort of skill out of it, but like I said at the beginning, unless you have a specific skill and you know that specific school or whatever training is not gonna just try to fill your head with garbage. Forget the certificate. Will actually give you a practical skill, and can you use it and not deal with all this nonsense? If not, don't waste your time. So there you go. Those are the suggestions, as well as now unpacking this whole situation behind it. There is some bad, evil, malicious intent going on behind the scenes, and you guys likely are starting to see this unpack out on the world stage here. I don't want anyone to have to go through this, so hopefully you will take the suggestions seriously, roll with them, get the best use out of them, and I will catch you guys in the next one.